Johnny, what else you got?
Yeah, I just got my little Twitter segment here. Things I've seen on Twitter, or I don't know. I was thinking we should make another segment. We should bring back some segments. You know?
Well, you guys didn't like my second. Said who tweets it?
That's a terrible segment.
What do you mean? Who tweets
it? Because it's such a boomer name.
Who tweets it?
Christ.
Well, not for
Lori
nothing.
Jones,
I'm not a boomer.
Can you come up with a better name than
I'm
that?
a Generation X, by the way, and just you didn't mention the Gen Xers who didn't have it like the baby boomers.
You
We've
always
had the
get
rent.
forgotten. The Gen Xers, you and Steve, you guys don't like. It's like
Johnny, who tweets did what?
Okay, so we did that one.
That was disgusting, by the way.
Oh yeah,
BT
so
Dubs.
we were talking about this earlier. So non-voting
I love his
felon,
tweets, by the way.
Michael Tanuvasa. I just changed my name to Israel, and America sent me a $4 billion stimulus check. Y'all should try this too.
That is great.
100%.
And Fia responded, "It's like, wait, Fiorella is a boring name. I'm changing my name to Raytheon Technologies."
Your Fee impression is off. Okay, it's not. That's not what I sound like.
No, I don't know. What else we got?
Katie Halper, she said, okay, who's going to post screenshots or copy and paste the text from this? I thought this was interesting. Someone wrote Bernie's Mittens, a lessons for San Francisco high school students in subtle white privilege because he wore mittens.
Yeah, I mean,
and
this
a coat.
Yeah, this is like.
So a San Francisco teacher was talking to her high school students and used this as an example of white privilege.
Can somebody explain that to me for a Gen Xer that doesn't?
I don't think it's
that?
a Gen Xer thing. I
don't
it's
understand
It's the fact that he got attention because he wore mittens means he's white. That shows white privilege.
Yeah.
No, the fact that he got attention for wearing mittens shows that people are so used to politicians being like elitist that like, oh, this guy wore mittens. It just looks off. That's all it was. Like they have to make some sexist bullshit up about it. And yet Bernie and still some of his supporters end up supporting the establishment that will never accept them. They will never fucking like you. They will never ever fucking like you.
He's made his
They
deal.
will never ever accept you.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
And the burners should realize that too as well. Instead of praising this guy, is just take the torch. I mean, you don't have to stick with the guy, okay? If he's left the movement, you keep carrying the movement on.
Yeah.
But I thought it was pretty disgusting that San Francisco teacher said that. So I'm going to talk about it. You know, that's why I brought it up. And then someone said, "Weird how this lady took no issue with the white privilege of the segregationist architect of the 1994 crime bill being inaugurated."
Yeah, that's the white privilege,
right?
That's the white privilege.
But they have to distract because they only care about symbolism.
Wow.
This is what the Democrats and liberals and shit libs are. They like, you can't have a discussion with them because you say one word and they're like, oh, that's sexist, or that's anti this, or that's anti that. You can't even use the word dude anymore because they're like, oh, you're misgendering me. It's like, okay, come on. Like, seriously? Like, shut the fuck up about that shit. Like, I'm just so done with, like, I can't even have a conversation with somebody before they already name you that you're anti this. And by all measures, I'm pro LGBTQ. I'm pro I'm trans. I believe in all of that. I believe every fucking human being should have basic human rights. Yeah. But when you're having a discussion and you can't even get to the fucking point because they're like, wait a minute, you said this. Don't use that word. Stop fucking tone policing people to that extreme. You literally lose sight. You distract from the main issue.
It happens on every issue now, fam.
It's just like
every single goddamn
board.
issue that you talk about. Well, this person says, well, you should know better about that. I'm like, what do you mean? Why are we tone policing? We're creating a space where it says you can't talk about that.
Yeah.
You can't have a nuanced conversation about that. We need to be comfortable with uncomfortable conversations, period. Bottom line. And I kept on showing my shirt because we need to start eating these people. Bottom line, we talked about it. The Kirsten Gillibrand, all these freaking Joe Biden and shit. We need to, Pelosi, Schumer, we need to have some pasta alla pasta.
So, okay, yeah. I want to discuss to you guys more. I think we should have a new segment because we're going to have a lot of this in the future with this Biden presidency. It's, oh my God, what the fuck? Or I hate neoliberals or something like that. So Ingrid Sayer Ochi is the teacher, right? Mm-hmm. Sharing an editorial from today's San Francisco Chronicle, better late than never. 2 weeks ago, I processed the Capitol insurrection with my high school students. Rallying our inquiry skills, we analyzed the images of that historic day, images of white men storming the Capitol fearless and with no forces to stop them. This, I said, is white supremacy. This is white privilege. It can be hard to pinpoint, but when we see it, we know it. Across our Zoom screen, they affirmed with nods, thumbs up, and emojis of anger and frustration. Fast forward 2 weeks ago as we analyze images from the inauguration. Asking again, what do we see? We saw diversity, creativity, and humanity, and a nation embracing all of this and more. On the day of inauguration, Bernie Sanders was barely on our radar. The next day, he was everywhere. What do we see? I asked again. We've been studying diversity and discrimination in the United States. My students were ready. What did they see? They saw a white man in a puffy jacket and huge mittens, distant not only in his social distancing, but in his demeanor and attire. We took in the meaning of the day, the vulnerability of democracy, the power of ritual traditions, and peaceful transition of power. We talked about gender and the possible meanings of the attire chosen by Harris, Biden, Dr. Biden, and the grandchildren, Obama, Amanda Gorman, and others. We referenced the female warriors inspiring these women, the colors of their educational degrees, and their monochromatic ensembles of pure power. And there across all our news and social media feeds was Bernie memes, Bernie sweatshirts, endless love for Bernie. I puzzled and fumed as an individual as I strove to my best possible teacher. What did I see? What I think my students should see: a wealthy, incredibly well-educated, and privileged white man showing up for perhaps the most important ritual of the decade in a puffy jacket and huge mittens. So this is the bullshit. See, she focuses on that shit. And then, I mean, in no way to overstate the parallel, Senator Sanders is no white supremacist insurrectionist, but he manifests privilege, white privilege, male privilege, and class privilege in ways that my students could see and feel. When you see privilege, you know it, I told them weeks before. Yet, when they saw Senator Bernie Sanders manifesting privilege when seemingly no one else did, I struggled to explain that disparity. I am beyond puzzled as to why so many are loving the images of Bernie in his gloves. Sweet, yes, the gloves knit by an educator. So Bernie, not so sweet, the blindness I see as so many, Bernie included, to the privileges Bernie represents. I don't know many poor or working class or female or struggling to be taken seriously folk who would show up at the inauguration of the 46th president dressed like Bernie, unless those same folk had privilege, which they don't. Isn't that shit?
She should be fired.
Isn't that shit?
Yeah. She should be fired.
Well,
like, what
the
fuck?
lack of nuance within that freaking article, within that statement once again, and then just
That's not even
elevating
the
these
article.
warmonger imperialist pieces of crap who've put them people in the doghouse, right? And she's trying to distract people with this crap. If this is what's being taught in the schools, I understand why a lot of parents are going crazy right now.
Yeah.
Did you see the way she described all the diversity? The diversity of the imperialist power.
Intersectional fashion.
Go ahead.
Just keep, like, you know, and
Jesus.
let's put some historical context to this, because this woman is probably likely from the age of probably younger than Bernie, but close to the age where women were fighting for equal rights and feminism took over. The Hillary Clinton type of woman that for some reason they will never get past this. They will never get past this, that Bernie Sanders was that guy that was yelling about, you know, inequality and all that, but he was a white man. And so they get angry that he is still like in people's minds, because he is effectively a white. He's not gonna, like, there's nothing you can do about that. He's a white man. And so they're pissed that people like Hillary and people like these, you know, neoliberal elitist women didn't get the shot that they were going to get. And I understand it from a historical context of like women fighting for equality, but this is reaching. This is like going way and above board. And it's also completely dismissing the fact that the reason Sanders was so popular is because he's not a typical politician. Even if, you know, I disagree with him, I criticize him, he doesn't dress the part of a politician, but also shows you how unpopular Joe Biden is. Because I always go back to this. The fact that all he had to do was sit there, look like himself, he always looks upset, and have Mittens to really get more attention from Joe Biden is what really bothers people. To get more attention than Kamala Harris is what bothers people, because at the end of the day, you can tell who people went out there for, rallying by the thousands, and who people didn't go out there for. Because if all it took was for Bernie Sanders to wear mittens, for these women to have their panties in a bunch, then then that tells you something about Joe Biden and how unpopular he was and how he didn't really win the vote of the people the way he should have.
When you concentrate on privilege and you mention nothing of how power works, then I really don't want to hear it from you anyway. So if you want to talk about privilege, you have to also talk about power.
Economics, too.
You got to talk about economics and how power works. And that's the problem. The neo-progressive movement doesn't understand how power works. Power concedes nothing without a demand. And you know what I'm saying? I don't want to get into that part and kind of drift off and stuff, but this was ridiculous right here, the way she was just putting all those beautiful things. Yeah. We're not going to talk about the way this diversity here and whatnot. It's like you're not talking about policy. You're not talking about power.
It's all symbolism.
And you're just talking about symbolism bullshit whatsoever. That lady should be fired. Go ahead,
and fam, you were on point. She's a Warren supporter. Someone pulled up the FEC filings and saw her donations. And
sure.
She donated $100 to Warren. And then I even pulled up the actual FEC over here, and she's voted. She's donated to Biden Victory Fund, Biden for president.
Imperialist.
Man, she's a teacher, and she doesn't know about the fucking 1994 crime bill.
And I just gotta say,
that's empire education.
It's empire education, and just wanted to say too, when I was knocking on doors for Bernie Sanders, because some of these people that are now like going after us are like, "What have you ever done?" Yeah, when I was fucking knocking on doors for Bernie Sanders, I encountered several Warren supporters. And they were actually the most anti-Bernie that I met, more than like say Republicans, even more than others that I encountered, because they were like, well, no, because we need a woman, and it was only a woman and a woman. And as a woman, I understand that we live in a patriarchal society. I understand that. I'm not dismissing that, but to ignore policy. And say that Warren had better policy, which she did not, and to ignore the fact that she was receiving money from Wall Street, which she did, and it is really just doing a disservice to women, to minorities, because through economics and through putting out policies that resolve economics, which Bernie said he would have done if he were president, then. Like you're really, it's all symbolism. You don't really care about helping women. You just care about the idea, this feel good slogan. Oh, I'm with Warren. I'm with her. This is a woman. She's a feminist. She's blah, blah, blah. Like that does nothing for me as a minority, as a female in this country. That absolutely does nothing for me. You're never going to get my vote by spewing that whole third wave feminist bullcrap.
Yeah. And the white Jewish man would have done more for poor women across the globe and at home than Kamala Harris, the woman of color, Indian, and the other woman of color, Elizabeth Warren, too, as well. The white Jewish man would have done a lot more for women and children and poor people across the globe and at home. Johnny?
Yeah, it's just too bad he didn't fight for the election
integrity.
contest. Too bad he just didn't.
Tough about it.
Didn't go to that. I have a couple more tweets here. I saw this today, I believe. Jesse Ventura's epic rant against billionaires. There shouldn't be one billionaire. The older I get, the more flaws I see in capitalism and the more good things I see in socialism. Let's watch this.
Let me make this statement. There shouldn't be one billionaire. There should not be one person worth $1 billion. And I know that's shocking hearing it come from me, but the older I get, the more flaws I see in capitalism and the more good things sometimes I see in more socialism. And let me explain on this. What can one do to earn $1 billion? I had at one time what I considered the toughest job I've ever did in my life. I was right out of high school. I had a job with the Minnesota State Highway Department bridge crew, and my job was running the 90-pound jackhammer. All day long on the street. That is the hardest job on the planet. You find me one that's physically or mentally tougher, and I was barely making above minimum wage. And you're telling me that these billionaires who are now doubling their money, doubling their wealth, that they work harder physically than someone spending 8 to 10 hours a day on a jackhammer? Bull crap is what I got to say to that. They earn their money by pushing pencils, and they don't even need to use deodorant because none of them ever sweat, I doubt it, at work. There should not be a billionaire, and I'm going on record to state this. Everybody talks about a minimum wage, a minimum wage, a minimum wage. I say it's time for a maximum wage.
Exactly.
How about $12 million a year, $1 million a month? If you can't live on $12 million a year, $1 million a month, maybe we should bring back capital punishment. Well, they already have, haven't they?
Yes, and I've talked about that before. There should be a
maximum wage,
a roof,
There's maximum wage,
ceiling.
A ceiling.
Yeah, a wage ceiling. 100% agree. I mean, I think it's also minimum wage too, without inflation and considering how it affects small businesses and all these other things, like and just the money thing. It's not real. Like the system isn't working, and billionaires are completely different than a millionaire. Yeah. That's the thing. What I wouldn't even know what to spend my money on with $12 million a year. Like that's disgusting to me. Nobody needs that much.
I would have a seal tank and seals otters in the back of my yard.
Oh my God.
Jesse, great speech. You need to learn more about elections, though. We love you.
Yeah.
Terry, a.k.a. Pa Pickens, thank you for the super chat contribution. It's awesome. And thank you for the 60 people who are over on the Rokfin. We're down to 58. We had 60. Get it back up there. Johnny, what else you got?
Okay, so this is another part of that neoliberal segment. So this guy has just question marks. Here's a picture. Biden posting, grateful for the short commute on days like these. And it's just snowy, White House, Biden walking, waving to the camera with a mask on.
He's such a donkey.
And but the best part, look at this. Someone who said this, I can't really explain the power of this picture, and yet I feel it deeply. It's a photo of a president who is actually working.
Oh, Jesus.
A president who isn't first, whose kids and friends and family aren't first. He is wearing a mask. That alone is enough to feel the distinction.
Does the boot taste good of how much she licked it and swallowed it whole? Yummy.
Something is way down that throat, fam.
Yeah. It was people like this that are working against themselves that enable this sort of thinking. Like, I wonder if they're even real. Like, half of them. Like, it's sad.
Bots, you think or it's somebody who's controlling that stuff. By the way, Steve Wilbrand, thank you for the super chat contribution. Says, love Jesse Ventura. Yeah, I love Jesse, but I don't love this crap over here. And then we have so much of this stuff because here's the thing, fam. I often say, who's getting paid? Who really is just doing this shit for free? Because they're that stupid. And we find so many people that we know are not getting paid that are getting duped and act this way for free. Yep. And it's like, guys, can you look into the nuance of this gentleman over here? I mean, this guy has been awful since day one, and yet now we're praising him because he's not the orange man.
Yeah, and then, someone said below, it's a fucking cult, same as MAGA, and responding to these tweets.
It is.
It is insane that they are lying about something that literally got them the Senate majority. Corruption so blatant they are ignoring their voters' will, knowing they will lose in the midterms for it. And then this person who's obviously a Democrat bootlicker. And the last administration did what? Find yourself an education so you know how to become a better person for this country and for yourself. You're an adult. Act like it. But Trump is not an excuse to lie about 2K checks. I would suggest you try being a better person. Have some empathy for the people who desperately need that money. Educate yourself on the fact that he has not been in office for even 2 weeks and you're a declaring failure. I'm one of those people that desperately needs them. Bitching about getting it makes it absolutely nothing better. Be a better person
really?
Or something.
It doesn't make it better? If we bitch about it, more people bitch with us, and we put public pressure on them, it doesn't make it better? You asshole. You bootlicker. These people are so stupid. Once again, there's another dude who's taking it in the you-know-what, and he's happy about it, fam.
Yeah.
Because orange man bad.
You
and
can't
why
say
every
but Trump.
Why is it every single situation you say?
Stop.
You always say
he's gone.
Because of Trump, he's gone. And what do you mean it's been 2 weeks and we haven't? This should have been done day one. All those executive orders, day one.
He said immediately. They both, Ossoff and fucking Biden both said immediately after that the people would get the fucking checks.
They lied to you and you take it laying down. 62 people on over on the Rokfin. Johnny, who tweets did this?
Hey, guess who's on the Twitters?
Who's on the tweetsters?
Raji Rab. And I just really liked what he said here. It's unconscionable that so much of a big deal is made in sending out a small $2,000 pandemic relief to the people, whereas passing out trillions on war gets done easily. $2,000 relief should be sent immediately and without delay. There are no checks and profits hearing from the pandemic.
And then he said, Joe Biden, do something.
Yes.
Yeah, but he's not going to because he can get away with it. Nobody, people are too busy saying, wait, but Trump was so bad. And, Jimmy Dore is aligning with fascists. The people, instead of criticizing Joe Biden, instead of actually,
you talk to a boogaloo boy.
Going beyond criticizing, organizing against this. They're too busy talking about how Jimmy Dore's still talking about Boogaloo Boys. They're still fucking doing that.
Fam,
still right now.
We're mitigating
damage. Do you have
damage.
that quote by fucking Anna?
We're still mitigating damage.
Okay.
What else you got?
Okay. All right. So.
Oh, here's our girl.
So someone, this was just posted just now. Here, Anna Kasparin targets both Katie Halps and Brie Joy for about being victimized because someone said she was paid by NATO. However, earlier this year, Anna bragged about going to the Munich Security Conference, and if she wasn't paid, Anna did NATO propaganda for free.
She did. I saw the whole thing.
Let's take a look.
Did.
So let's see this. Hold on. Let's see what she says.
To me, what this is about, though, is the people surrounding him enabling him when he puts out ridiculous conspiracy theories, like calling me someone who's being funded by NATO because I interviewed Madeleine Albright once. So direct question to both Katie Halper and Brianna Joy Gray. Do you guys think that I'm paid by NATO? So I will not be here next week because I'll be in Munich, Germany to cover the Munich Security Conference. Something I'm really excited about. I covered the Munich Security Conference last year. And so this year I'll be participating for the conference, which takes place February 14th through the 16th. And to me,
I used to think that her anger was so phony, whatnot. But now I think her anger is for real because she's pissed off that real progressives, true progressives, are following her around.
Her gig is up.
Her gig is up since she took that money, and then the way they changed. And it's not the fact that you interviewed Madeleine Albright, is that you became a professional softball pitcher.
Softball.
You didn't question her on anything. You know what I'm saying? And don't get me wrong, I've been in a situation myself. You know, we saw Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and I wasn't ready, and I should have jumped all over her when I was there, not just to say gotcha, but to ask her challenging questions. But for the most part, when we get a chance to talk to people, we get those hard questions there. You had all this time to get ready to talk to Madeleine Albright, and you gave her softball after softball after softball.
Yeah, they make excuses
Why?
too.
Because you're on their team now.
And Madeleine Albright doesn't have ramen hair, which we were all like,
we were laughing at
Yeah.
because
Well,
Fam said something so hysterical. She goes, her hair looks like ramen noodles.
It really does.
I just started laughing
in
hysterically.
Person, like when you meet her, her hair actually does look like ramen noodles. I wanted to have ramen at that moment.
Debbie, right? Debbie.
Yeah,
Debbie
Wasserman
Wasserman. Somebody
Schultz.
said, "Oh, you met the Lizard King. How is she?"
So just real quick though, she said conspiracy theories. The way she talks so arrogantly and condescendingly is the way some of the people we've called out on the show talk. Like, you're just conspiracy theory. Anytime somebody says that now, I just call it something else. If you're gonna it's not a conspiracy theory that people are putting out there, and this is a fact. And you can watch Moderate Rebels with Max Blumenthal and I think Ben Norton, who. If it was either them or it was one of them on the Grey Zone that was talking about how she did literally get backed by NATO, by the way. They did a whole expose on her.
Speaking of people that talk like that, Fam, this is my reaction to this video that we never showed on the show, actually. So I want to show it. So someone posted this video.
Oh, yeah, let's watch this.
Because Newsmax 08.
Hold on, I'm going to start from the beginning here.
This is where the whole hype, though. Explain this out,
5 people
Johnny.
died at the Capitol.
Okay, wait. So you know, people know that Jordan came after us, basically saying that we helped
stoke.
We helped stoke what happened at the Capitol.
He said we should be taken down.
And then you know, we've never talked shit about status quo. We've avoided just even talking about them. And then you know, he goes and says that. So I just wanted to show this video, which
just
I thought
leave
was
that face though, real quick. Don't press play yet. Don't press play.
Was really funny.
I want to say something because I want to leave his face up there like that. Look at that face. Yeah. And by the way, I don't know what to say. I'm trying to stall. So look at that face.
Well, Mona said hypocrite. A real journalist would apologize and correct their mistake, not hide it or lie and say they never said it. Please don't shoot the messenger. I did not make this video. So Mona didn't make this video, but she posted it, which was great. And it has 7,000 views.
5 people died at the Capitol because Newsmax, OANN, Fox News, Breitbart, conservative media, and frankly, some on the YouTube were pushing this nonsense. Now, I'm not saying they're directly responsible, and apparently Convo Couch is watching me on their live stream, so I'll tell you directly, you should be ashamed of yourself. You've provided zero evidence to your audience, and you helped stoke what happened today at the Capitol. And you helped stoke what happened today at the Capitol. And you helped stoke what happened today at the Capitol. And you helped stoke what happened today at the Capitol. My position has frankly been lied about all over the internet the last few days by certain people using a tweet that I sent out on the day of the Capitol attack.
And you helped stoke what happened today at the Capitol.
There's a nice article written by Matt Taibbi, the person who was censored, yet he's going around saying people should get censored, right?
I don't understand why all these people ignore the very, very red flags about Jordan. I mean, I think that is there's an element to a certain type of privilege, but I'm not going to go deep down on that. But more than anything, it's you know, I'm going to let people find out for themselves. I'm not here to turn people against somebody else, unlike others. But to say that we helped stoke what happened at the Capitol was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, that's saying we helped stoke a crime.
A crime in his direction.
We were assistant to a crime.
Yeah.
You know, like
it's so stupid.
It's a big claim.
He wasn't even there.
It's a big claim there.
So he can go eat it. And let
he
me
needs
tell
to
you
watch
something.
his mouth.
Anytime he wants to still debate the election right now, I have plenty of evidence, right? You know what I'm saying? I have way more evidence that you had that Bernie was cheated in Iowa. I have more evidence about the numbers being way off when it comes to this election. And at the end of the day, we never got a proper audit because we should have all used this time. People on the left, people on the right. Now that we had all these Trumpers involved, we should have said, okay, and they should still do it right now. What Cori Bush should do is she should say, listen, let's stop fighting. Congresswoman Green, what do you want? And Congresswoman Green should say, all right, we can't go back and change the last election. Let's have a bill put on the floor. Let's eliminate all proprietary software whatsoever. Yep. Do one thing, right? One thing, like we talked to Garland Nixon, say, what's the one thing you would do? Garland says the first thing I would do is I would take away the right for the police department to investigate the police department. Well, let's eliminate one thing. Nobody's talking about the actual framework and the fundamentals. Why? Because they're happy with the results. And even people like Jayapal going over there saying these people still won't admit the fact that Joe Biden won. Well, you're not addressing their issues. You're not addressing the issues of elections where your own colleagues in Elizabeth Warren and Klobuchar were complaining about the proprietary software.
A year ago.
Let's go fix this. And we all on the left, I mean, it's so ridiculous, fam, because we've talked about this before. By definition, by default, if you rig a primary, you automatically rig a general. But you still can't explain these mathematical anomalies, and the answers you give me are CNN, MSNBC, Fredo quotes, which are completely untrue, that the fact that they wait to the very end, like you really have this thought process in your mind that they count all the regular in-person votes and then they count the mail-in votes after. That's not the way it happens. And still, fam, it wouldn't deviate from the voting patterns that are there in which they use the establishment to call the elections, like in the primaries for people like Joe Biden over Bernie Sanders. Anyways, I can debate you left and right because you don't understand what's going on.
No.
And you won't have me on a debate.
And nobody wants to go on your show. It's not about that.
I haven't had intelligence.
So stop acting like it's about that because it's not about that. I just wanted to say the left will completely ignore. Like they'll attack, Joe Biden's corrupt. Democrats are corrupt. Republicans are corrupt. We overturn throw out other countries' elections. We coup whoever we want to coup. We do all these things, right? We do all these things all over the world. We don't trust our government. We have Julian Assange in prison for telling you the truth about what we really did in the Middle East and torture and all of these things, all these lies that we have found out that the CIA has lied to the FBI, Russiagate was a hoax, all of these things. Yet somehow they have convinced themselves that elections are democratic and transparent. That doesn't make logical sense. It doesn't. No. So even on that basis, if you believe Biden won fair and square, if you believe that, Biden was so popular that Bernie outshined him by wearing mittens because he won fair and square, okay, fine. You can believe that. But at the very least, you should demand better. Because the fact that people don't trust elections is a problem. Yeah. It's not just because of Trump that they don't trust elections. You didn't trust elections during the primary. So stop pretending that this whole thing started with Donald Trump because it didn't. Yeah. We've been fucking talking about it for years, and so have other people. And that's what we have to pay attention to. Election transparency across the board. Whether you want to argue about this election or not is irrelevant at this point because it's done. But we, as a people, have to demand transparency, or all of these, let's get a progressive elected to the Democratic Party isn't going to work, or let's start a third party. It's not going to work until we have elections.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny that, Jordan, in fact, believed that there was rigging going on the primaries, because it was against his candidate, progressives, right, and stuff. But the fact that there's no evidence-free, he throws his bullshit statement out, please, there's plenty of evidence. And yet he was also pushing to vote for Biden, too, as well. Yeah, Isn't that fucking funny,
He
though?
said he voted for Biden.
He voted for Biden, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His white savior complex bullshit.
Yeah.
Please. Sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
Anyways, yeah, we'll get a couple last two tweets here.
Get me fired up.
So this tweet, apparently Anna had some words to say today.
Yeah.
If I had to choose between believing the nurses union or a woman who provided cover for a guy who's now promoting the idea of aligning with the Boogaloo Boys, I'll go with the nurses until there's any evidence otherwise. Thanks. So this is in response to
Brianna Joy claiming that she tried to contact the nurses union but didn't get a response. Accordingly, Anna's saying, "Well, I'm going to believe the nurses union over her." And Ryan Grimm said, "I talked to the lead Medicare for All organizer for National Nurses United about the strategy to move public health care forward. Listen here." And so basically,
so Brie was like, I tried to contact them and they wouldn't respond.
Right. And so, but basically what Brian Grimm and Anna Casparin have been doing this whole time is shitting on force of vote, shitting on any sort of direct action that's coming from Dore, because DSA actually said this first. But when Jimmy Dore took it, a lot of them turned against him. Not everybody. We had some DSA supporters that were at force of vote. So what they're trying to do is run cover for to say, oh, this was a bad strategy. This is how you do it. So now we're gonna be doing this. And yesterday I got into it with somebody on Facebook. Number two, now all of a sudden you want to talk about phone banking for Medicare for all, but you weren't doing that when we were doing force of vote because you didn't like the messenger, which means that you only give a shit about the personality and not about people actually getting fucking health care. So this is what riles people up, because you don't give a damn about who gets, about just getting it health care. You only care about who is doing it. So these people who are so elitist in their mindset, this is why they don't like Dore, because they would rather have some pompous asshole like Sam Cedar go over there and say, well, this isn't the right move. If you read Chomsky, or if you read this and that, and
or
they
actually
just
know how it works in the government.
Yeah, this is not how it works.
And they don't know shit. They don't even understand shit. They don't understand how power works, but yet they want to do it. Oh, no, you don't want to. These are allies. They're the closest to us in ideology. We can't go after the squad. Get off our Yas Queen.
There are allies. Why are you going after allies? You go after AOC more than you do these Republicans. Why? Why should I copy MSNBC and CNN and just focus on Trump bad when I know that is a symptom of the years and years of corporate neoliberalism? Biden is the architect of this fucking system. Why the hell am I going to waste my time telling people what they already know? That yes, Trump is Republican ideology is really not in line with what I believe in. You fucking know that by 2 seconds of watching this fucking show that I don't align with that. So why the hell do you have to make shit up? Oh, because you have to discredit the people who are not part of the elite, privileged, progressive class of journalism who have this sort of idea of this is how it should be. Sorry, Johnny, you didn't finish reading the Brie quote.
Yeah, so Brie responded to Anna saying, this is so disappointing and ugly. Out of respect for the NNU members and organizers I've been corresponding with, I won't be posting our correspondence, but I'm happy to share it privately with you, Anna. Only ask that you refrain from attacking my integrity further. Moreover, as I pointed out before, the organizer Ryan spoke with did not claim that NNU hadn't been
National Nurses
contacted
Union
by forced to vote advocates. She specifically said that she couldn't speak for NNU or other organizations, but that she hadn't personally been contacted. So this is all about how forced to vote contacted the National Nurses Union.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And another thing I want to say is that there are a lot of people that I know who are working to get Medicare for all, and I'm going to have some of them on the Berets on the show soon to talk about how they're trying to do whole Washington. But what I want to say is that there are people doing it on a state level, a statewide thing, and they're being met with direct attacks coming from the establishment who are saying Jimmy Dore is not our friend. They are literally invoking Jimmy Dore's name and yelling at people for talking about force of vote. This isn't the right strategy because Jimmy Dore is vile and all of this. So again, they're putting this idea of personality of Dore over the push for Medicare for all, and Wisconsin managed to get a resolution passed, and that's what the establishment is scared of, that people are desperately, passionately trying to get healthcare during a fucking pandemic, and they're putting pressure and applying this pressure, and it's working. Politicians are responding because now they can only weasel their way so much. You saw what AOC said. It was stupid, and so they can't really back that shit up. So now they're desperate to malign the issue of actually taking direct action, because as Steve said before he left, these fucking people, the closest they've gotten to a fucking protest, the closest Anna, Sam Cedar, or any of these cucks have gotten to a protest when they have no reason not to be out in the streets, they don't have a condition that disables them from being out in the streets, is by watching it and on our shit or on other people's shit who actually go on the streets and interview these people. No, they can sit fine on their fucking cushiony desks and just sit there and talk shit about other people who are actually doing the work. Brianna Joy Gray flew out there for force of vote and was there. So were a lot of other people. Protest. And she was at the Assange protest. Like, I just don't understand. Now you're maligning her because of what why? First of all, even if Jimmy Dore did something bad, does she own Jimmy Dore? Is she Jimmy Dore's like handler?
Well,
no.
that's the whole
Like-
neo-progressive thing. It's guilty by association. Oh,
Yeah,
if you agree
yeah,
with them
yeah.
on this and
which
stuff
he
like that, you're
didn't
in the
do
same
anything
clan.
wrong, but still,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
And by the way, it was sad to see Anna Dixon vid smearing Jimmy, and that was from Mocracy. Thank you so much, Mocracy. And just fam, I'm gonna let Johnny get onto this too as well. But some of y'all complain and say that we go after the left more than we go after the right. On Wednesday, we will be having Jackson Hinkle on the show around 1:00. He'll join us. We'll start the show before that, and fam, and I'm gonna go after Donald Trump. Because I'm going to be preparing something that I want to talk about what did we learn? And I'm talking to a lot of people like my family members and stuff. Like yesterday, I got a text from one of my cousins and stuff, and she's still mad about what's going on. She's being mad about being called white privilege when the girl couldn't go to college. She had to work 2-3 jobs to put her kids through college. Barely lived in a nice neighborhood, didn't live in a nice neighborhood. Barely could stay in Long Island at one point and stuff. But she's directing her anger towards the people again. I'm like, well, haven't you learned what's going on? I mean, the street sweeper, I talked about her grandfather. So there's a lot of things I think a lot of people from the Trump campaign, the whole shoe on the head thing, right? With the burning of the flag. There's some things we have to talk about because I still reach out to some Trump people and they're like, oh, yes, you should still go to jail for burning the flag. It's like that time when Stewie hit the kid over the head. He goes, hey, I'll trade you my game ball for your bat. And they trade the bat and Stewie whacks him over the head. And he goes, what did we learn? Trump people, what did we learn? So if you're eager to hear us go after Trump, join us on Wednesday. I'll be going after Trump a little bit for some of the bullshit things he did and the fact the way he went out like a little bitch and didn't pardon Julian Assange.
That's right.
Johnny, go ahead.
And then the last tweet, someone said, Siri, define class solidarity. So they're arguing over duck season, rabbit season, and then it's Elmer season, and they're both like, woo. We're both gonna.
Exactly.
They got it. Hello.
Bugs and
we got
Daffy
the ducks,
Duck.
they got the rabbits, and then we got the Elmer Fuds.
The capitalists.
He wants to kill them both.
The billionaires.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much. I mean, like.
Go ahead, Johnny, show it.
Yeah.
And
right
then,
there.
I don't know. Someone put this out there. I don't know.
Let's put it, but go ahead.
It's pretty interesting. The only thing the establishment truly fears.
I got your back, brother. And that
it's pretty wild.
Listen, I saw this meme out there weeks ago.
The progressives a lot of the neo-progressives were using it as like, this is unacceptable.
This is disgusting.
Yeah. Someone says below, yes, people wearing Confederate flags famous for having the backs of black people. Yeah. Confederate flag there.
Once again, and
Okay,
Daryl
so-
Davis talks about this. What are the people? They fear what they don't know, and they're convinced that person is their enemy. Literally, white
Daryl Davis
supremacist
said
group
that too. It was
recruit
about
people by
fear.
going, you don't have anything, white family, because the black family's
Yeah.
taking it away from you. That's how they recruit them, and they don't know it's fear.
And just the last thing I want to say on that, the Confederate flag. Yeah, that's a symbol of oppression and slavery. Remember, we were literally talking about the Confederate fucking flag with the YPO.
Yeah.
And people were arguing and saying, no, but that was part of their history then. What all of a sudden now it's not? Like, no, dude. Like, you can't fix things depending on where it suits you, guys. Yes, it is. But you sometimes have to take that and be like, look, we have to educate these people. These people are completely miseducated, some of them. And, nobody's even telling you to unite with somebody wearing a Confederate flag, really. They're just saying it's possible, that it's been done before. They're saying, talk to somebody. Nobody's saying you're going to change your values and all of a sudden become a Confederate flag wearing anti-black, anti-LGBTQ person. Nobody's fucking asking you to do that. Stop being hyperbolic. Like, all these people, they're like, oh my God, aligning with fascists. No, nobody's aligning with fascists.
What we have seen, fam, and we've seen this through a lot of our talk shows, but you guys won't remember this. When I was younger, a lot of these talk shows is that people would come back on these talk shows and say, I've left the Klan. We've gotten people to realize that what they were doing, they were being duped. They had the wool pulled over their eyes, and that person wasn't their enemy, that the person upstairs, up top, the Joe Bidens, the elites, the establishment, those people in Davos, those are your enemies.